Welcome to another episode of the Videocraft Show. I'm your host, Jon Santiago, and in today's episode, I speak with Desiree Martinez. Now, Desiree is the founder of All-in-One Social Media, an online marketing agency that helps companies leverage social media for their businesses. Desiree actually generates a significant amount of her leads for herself by creating problem-solving content on YouTube for about 16,000 subscribers at the time of this video. Aside from her agency, Desiree also hosts the Women of YouTube podcast, and it's a show focused on spotlighting the unique challenges and experiences faced by female video creators. In this episode, Desiree and I talk about why it's important for content creators to build other sources of income outside of AdSense. We also discuss how she juggles her many online projects alongside her personal life as a mother and wife of a military veteran. Lock in. You're listening and tuned into the Videocraft Show presented by Video Husky. Desiree, thank you so much for joining me on the show. This is really going to be a pleasure to have you on and just kind of pick your brain on things.
I'm here for it. Let's go away.
So I'm doing research on you leading up to this interview. Was reading and watching some of your videos about how you got into entrepreneurship. And I found it really interesting that in college, you originally wanted to become a character and texture artist for Disney and Pixar. So can you kind of walk the audience and the listeners through that journey from wanting to be a creative in that sense, an animator essentially, to where you are today as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So I grew up, I think like a lot of millennial kids. I grew up where you were kind of taught you need to get good grades so that you can go to college, and you have to do good in college so you can get a good job, and then you can buy a house, get married, have kids, buy a car, and die. Like that was like the plan that we had in place. But I saw Toy Story in theaters when it came out Thanksgiving weekend in 1995. And I remember coming out of the theater, my parents asking me how I liked the movie. And I remember saying, that's what I want to do when I grow up. I want to be an animator. And so I worked towards that goal actually for 12, 13 years. I did my best to do good in school, and I went to college at the Art Institute of Colorado, where I got my bachelor's degree in multimedia art and animation. I graduated in March of 2007, and things were kind of weird already at the time. It was I graduated literally like number 2 in my class. And it was this situation where when I went to go apply for jobs, all of these studios and people I had been talking to and networking with and had sent my demo reel to, and that were really excited about the opportunity to work with me or for me to go work for them and get my foot in the door, they were all like, well, these jobs don't exist anymore. The studio is shutting down. Oh, we don't have money to finish. We don't have money for our next project anymore. And I ran into this situation like where I couldn't get work. And so I tried different things and nothing would stick, because at the time we were about to head into our Great Recession. And then of all of the things that people definitely find frivolous, art was at the top of that list. And so being an animator, an artist, a graphic designer, a filmmaker, a photographer, any of those kinds of things that my multimedia degree had given me the skills in, I had nothing, and I had to actually move back in with my parents.
Yeah, that's something I can totally relate to as well, because I graduated college around the same time as you, about 2 years later, 2009, and I remember just entering into that job market feeling like, oh my God, there's no hope. And it's very similar to probably what a lot of young people feel today during this crazy time that we're going through. But I mean, if anything, like, your story is something that can bring those young people hope that, hey, if you just keep going, if you keep working hard, like there's opportunity if you don't, kind of bury your head in the sand and feel depressed about things.
I honestly don't think it's working hard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think anything that you want to do, you want to give it your all, and we work hard at trying to make sure that we do our jobs really well. Like I find that like I try to work hard to make really good video content and help my customers and pay attention to the industry and like what's going on. But beyond that, I think it's really about getting creative with what you want to do, and then also figuring out like what you like to do and how you can make a job for yourself. Because that's how my job and my company came to exist. When I lost my job, I had to move back in with my parents. My parents live in Phoenix, Arizona, which is where I live now. And my mom is always super helpful with helping me find like things that I needed. And she found this website for me. It's called networkingphoenix.com. And it was this list of networking events that happen all around the valley. Phoenix is really big, and so there's a lot of opportunities to go find different networking events to go to as a business owner. My mom's like, you should go find some things that are nearby and see if you can pick up some freelance graphic design work. And I was like, all right, not a bad idea. I'll go. And I remember going to my first event and being like, do I have to do business with all these people? How do I talk to all these people? Like, will they all work with me? I don't understand. Like, it was this whole confusing thing. And the more I started doing it, the more I started networking and talking to people, the more I realized what I do for a living, no one had any interest in. But because of my age and my experience, they all started asking me about what this Facebook thing was. They're like, what's this Facebook thing? My kids do it. Like, I hear, like, they keep inviting me to it, trying to tell me to get on it. I don't know what it is. And I was like, whoa, adults, why are you in my space? Because I had been on Facebook when you could only get it with a college email. Right? Like, so I've been on it for a long time. And so I remember that being a place to connect with my friends from college and share things. And we'd party and drink and share and all this stuff. And all of a sudden, like, all these grownups in my life, all these people were like, what is this? And I was like, oh, maybe this is something I could do. And one day someone said, Desiree, you should do this as a job. Like, you're teaching people how to use this. You should make money with it. And I was like, no one's going to pay me to be on Facebook. And since that moment, I've literally eaten my words every day. That's exactly what I get paid to do. Get paid to help businesses grow online with better content marketing. And part of that content marketing strategy is being on Facebook and creating content and being present, having a message and engaging. And I created a job for myself that didn't exist. Being a social media manager in 2009, 2010 didn't exist. It wasn't something people did. But it was something that I knew I could do well and that other people weren't doing and that a lot of people were asking for. So I think if I had to give advice for anybody that's out there trying to figure out like what to do with their life is, what can you do that no one else can't? What can you do that you can do better than somebody else? And then how can you fill that void?
Yeah, and it may be in like these very non-obvious areas like you, right? We were all at that time just using Facebook for fun, just connecting with people on campus, and it turns into this whole opportunity for businesses. And since then you've been able to expand upon what you're doing. And I know that you started your YouTube channel a couple years ago, started investing a little bit more time into that. Can you talk about the thought process into diving into that channel and expanding beyond the other social platforms?
Yeah, honestly, getting on YouTube was just, I needed a way to market my business when my husband and I were getting relocated to South Korea. So for context, I got married in 2013, and shortly after that, my husband joined the Air Force. And obviously with Air Force life comes moving and going to different places, and you're very much at the mercy of like where the military sends you. It was totally normal for us because we both grew up that way. But in 2015, I decided that I wanted to launch All-in-One Social Media, which is my current do-it-for-you marketing agency, where we're able to grow businesses' social media presence and help them get leads and build community while putting military spouses to work. It's a very mission-driven business because the town we were in didn't like hiring military spouses. And I'm like, that's messed up. I can help with this. Let's do it. And since then, we've worked with hundreds of businesses and helped dozens of military spouses make money, get work, learn a tradable skill, and all that great stuff. But a year into that business, my husband came home and was like, we have orders. We have to move to South Korea. And I was like, yay, crap. What am I going to do for this agency? Because if I can't keep growing this business, if I can't keep finding more customers, I can't keep helping these military spouses. And so so in the end of February, or sorry, the beginning of February, Amy Schmittauer, she's now Amy Landino, came out with this book called Vlog Like a Boss. And I was really into it. Like I read it and I was like, this is it. This is what I need to do. I need to use YouTube and video to connect with my customers and have them find me so that I'm able to solve their problems and or overwhelm them with the amount of work that social media marketing takes, and then that acts as a lead source for my business. And so I used my time in South Korea to make all of my bad videos and make a lot of mistakes to figure out how it would work. And I realized how much I really liked it. I also realized how effective it was. And you get these sort of like, you make these series of videos like, why isn't anyone watching? Why isn't this working? And then you make one that does pick up and you're like, that's what I need to do more of. And it just becomes this thing. And and on top of it, I loved doing it. Like I didn't realize how much I would enjoy creating content on YouTube.
What did you notice in terms of those early days uh, between your videos that weren't, getting traction early on relative to the ones that did start to get traction?
So for me, what I discovered is that, and this is something I have struggled with and I have come to, I think, of a solid place of acceptance is I am a resource to people. I'm not a vlog. I'm not someone that people really come to because they like my personality and my quirkiness and my adventure. They'll always get that as a part of the videos I create, but I'm there to solve problems for people. And that's what I learned is what brings people to me. So for forever, I was a lot of like how to do things in social media. So it's like how to create a Facebook page, how to create a Facebook page to add a business page, how to use Instagram, how to do all these very specific things that people search for and having the solutions for them. And that's what I realized was working really well for me. I dabbled with lots of different things. I would have like a vlog. I did these things I called military marketing Mondays, where I would teach people about military life so that they can market to military communities better. I just did a bunch of things to try and see what would work. And it always came back to solving search-based problems for people around social media.
So how did you go about finding out those questions that people were asking? Did it start with you just thinking from your own perspective, like, okay, these are the questions that I know that the people that I want to serve or work with are probably asking, and then going and researching that on YouTube or other platforms?
It so when I started off with my content, I was doing a lot of like the kind of content you should post. So I would do these like monthly content idea videos, like it's August, here are some content ideas that you could do for your calendar. And then I also had like a freebie I would do where they would get a full calendar, where it was like the calendar of the month and it had all of the things on there. And then I just started like talking about things with marketing, like hiring, like how to define your perfect customer, or what to do in specific marketing situations. But then I was running out of ideas, and I was like, well, what's something that I could really talk about that people need help with? And I think what started it was my very good friend could not figure out how to go live on her phone horizontally. And it cracked me up because no matter how many times I told her, she like couldn't figure out how to do it. So I made a video for my YouTube channel for it. And it was like one of my most popular videos. It might actually still be one of my most popular videos on my YouTube channel. And it's like, it just hit me. It's like, I could solve really simple problems for people that people ask that are around social media. And I can establish myself as a social media expert by solving social media problems. And that might be doing a lot of boring videos that are usually tutorials. And I was working with a friend of mine he's a really good friend of mine, and he was my editor. And he's like, I know you hate this, but this is the stuff that gets you established and gets you found. And I was like, all right. And to this day, though, I still do it. So like while we record this, we're at the beginning of Vlogmas, and I'm using Vlogmas as an opportunity to update a lot of tutorials that I have, because Instagram and Facebook have both made gigantic interface changes, and where things are and how to find them isn't easy to find anymore. And so I'm using this as an opportunity to update those old tutorials to help me with search and relevancy, and heading into 2021, it helps with that.
Gotcha. So you can almost kind of redo some of the old videos that you did in the past, the same kind of concepts, same kind of search queries, keywords that people are looking up, but then update the content with a new video because there's obviously new interface updates to those platforms.
100%. And I do it shamelessly. Like there's no reason not to. Like one of my top performing videos on my YouTube channel right now is how to use Facebook Marketplace. Well, when I made that video, I think I was actually living in South Korea, and it's like 3 years old. And I'm like, well, let's try to update this with the new interface and see how it goes. And even just a couple days in, it's taking off pretty well. So like I know that these are the right kinds of things to make, because YouTube already has me positioned as a leader on these topics. So by adding in a new one, I'm just making YouTube happier by making more of them.
So what will happen when you do that to the old video? Will your new video start to bump up in the search ranking results for that query, and then the other video will start to fade as a result, or do you still find yourself kind of cannibalizing the results for both?
In a perfect world, the first thing that you said is what happens. Like the new one becomes more important and the old one isn't dished out as much. However, because YouTube doesn't see one as like an update of it, it just sees another one of it, it doesn't stop suggesting the other one. So what I tend to do when I update my videos is about 30 seconds into my video, I will put a card onto that Facebook video that's like updated video, so that they can see the new one, and I'll put it at the top of the description. Click here for the updated version of this video, so that it's easier for people to get the information that they need that's more relevant. And it works for me too, because if you think about it algorithmically, when they go to the old video and they tell them there's the new one, they'll be watching two of your videos. And so it really helps, like, well, YouTube tell them like, oh, well, they like them, they watch more than one of their videos, like they interacted by clicking, they watch the ads, so I get like that attention. It's a whole like beneficial thing.
Oh, that's interesting. I never would have thought about that. Like going in and just adding in like an annotation, the card as you're mentioning to the old video to then drive that traffic that is going to that old video to the new one. That's a really fascinating and unique way to do it.
You don't want to delete it and you don't want to unlist it. You let it keep working for you, because it's still something that people want to know about, and it still brings them to you. And so it's just really helpful. It really is.
Is there ever a time where deleting a video makes sense, or is that something that you think, no, just leave it up? It's still getting traction. It's
No,
still getting
deleting a
traction.
video makes total sense. You want to delete a video when you have not had any views to that video in 90 days. And the reason that is because you're getting penalized as a creator on YouTube if YouTube suggests that video to somebody and they don't click on it. And so that hurts your potential viewership and attention. So it's okay to go through old videos and unlist them, and then also, or delete them. And then you can make an updated, better version of it potentially, or it lets you know, like, I don't need to do more of that content. Because you have to think, if you have 100 videos and YouTube's trying to suggest all 100 videos to people based on their activity, and 20 of your 100 videos aren't being clicked on, all that's telling YouTube is that this person has made all these videos that people don't care about. So we're going to show everything less, and it's not going to help you. So I try to go through my videos quarterly at this point, and I'll do them by like view count, and I'll just unlist anything that isn't getting views over a 90-day period.
Gotcha. So you'll unlist them, but they, if say it's been shared or embedded on a website, it's still available to be watched.
Yes, and that is why I don't delete them.
Gotcha. Okay. I want to dial back to something that you had mentioned a few moments ago, and that was just, you know, creating the content. At times, it can be a bit mundane to kind of chase some of these topics, but again, it's great for your business because these are the kinds of questions that the people you work with are asking. What do you do to, I guess, stay motivated and consistent throughout this whole process of, genuine, generously churning out content?
Well, I think it's because I hide my generosity with an agenda without sounding like scammy or anything like that. Um, what I do with all of my videos, and I wish I had done this from the beginning, and I always teach people to do this from the beginning as soon as possible. Every single piece of content you make, if you can, it should come with a call out to get people onto your email list. So my channel hook is I'm here. Hi, my name is Desiree, and I'm here to help you grow your business with better social media and content marketing, right? So you know what I'm here to do. Like, while I might be showing you how to do this very specific thing on Facebook, you know that this is like my bigger purpose. This is what I'm here to help you with. And so I try to give a shout out to something I'm promoting or something I'm doing. So, and I have something that, like, when in doubt, I can just promote this. And it's a content planning worksheet. And I tell people, and before we dive into this, a great way to have an effective Facebook strategy is to have an effective content marketing plan. So go grab my free content marketing strategy or my free content planning worksheet down in the description below to get you started. And I put them on my email list. And my email list grows very steadily. The more videos I make, the more people sign up every day based on the different freebies and opt-ins that I have to offer them. And so that is where the power lies, is in my email list. That's where the money is, and the money's in the list, right? That's like the cliche marketing saying that so many people use. I myself, as a YouTuber, I use my email list as a way to promote new videos, as a way to talk about upcoming speaking gigs, and as a way to drive traffic to something that I'm supporting, or I'm doing an affiliate marketing for, or a product I'm trying to create or launch. If I need an opinion about something, my email list is where I can keep people interested in who I am and establish myself as that expert based on that. But when you're trying to just create without having any way for people to keep talking to you and keep watching you, and you're relying on the third party like YouTube to put your content in front of people, because that's not how it works. Like, YouTube doesn't exist to put your content in front of your potential customers. It's your job to create content for your perfect customer so that YouTube knows exactly who to put it in front of. And it's this very, like, you're like, they're not doing it for you, you are doing it for them, sort of a shift in your mindset. So if you have to rely on a third party tool to do all the work to bring you your customers, and they only come to you once and you never talk to them again, or YouTube wants to suggest them to you again, or let's say someone does subscribe and they don't get to see your videos, like, there's a lot being missed. And so that's why I grow my email list, to very much focus that purpose so that I know who my community is.
Would you say that it's, if you had to pick between calls to action, right? Like, subscribe to my YouTube channel or join my email list, or here's a content opt-in, a lead magnet or something for you, which would you prioritize? And I'm asking you this question kind of with the assumption of what I know you're going to say, but I think it's just kind of valuable to ask you it and have you say it yourself for the people who are tuning in.
For the cheap seats in the back, if you're going to have a call to action, and you should really only have one in your video, it needs to be to drive people to your list. Now, you'll meet plenty of YouTube gurus that are like, drive them to another video, keep them into your web of YouTube-ness. It's a little bit of a debate. It's a little bit of a thing, but all of the YouTube experts and that I work with and I talk to, they talk about how my first objective on YouTube is business. My second objective on YouTube is the algorithm. Like, I'm not here to make YouTube money. I'm here to make myself money. How I'm going to make money is by getting them on my list. What you don't realize as a creator is that if someone is watching your video and they do not hit subscribe, it does not mean YouTube is not going to give them another video. I can't tell you how many creators I watch their videos regularly that I'm not a subscriber of their channel. It's just the YouTube suggestion is saying, hey, you watched this, you probably would like this same video from this creator, or this other video from a creator. That's the same thing that happens here. So if someone watches my video about like how to create better video content for Instagram, YouTube is going to suggest to them that they watch my how to create better content for Facebook, right, video, and that's going to go on, they might click on it. And the more they clicked on suggested videos, the more YouTube will show me to that person, whether they hit subscribe or not. And so it's just one of those things that's like, I can count on the YouTube algorithm to do what they know is best and what they work really hard to do. However, it's my job as a creator and as a business person to have a way to talk to the person that has come to me in my own way and in my own time, not YouTube's.
How difficult is this of a concept to communicate to people who are just solely creators, right? Like versus you're a businesswoman, you're an entrepreneur, you see this as a marketing channel, a marketing platform for yourself. Whereas, we have the influencers, content creators who their main focus is just creating something really cool that people watch and engage with, and they kind of are a little bit averse to the business side of things, but they would like to make it into a career. So how do you communicate that to them?
And I think that it's the different kinds of content you're creating. Like I think that if you're a vlogger, so like the jerkies, I'm just gonna say the jerkies because I watched this really funny video that they made last night where it's like they're celebrating their 6-year anniversary and they make this video where they talk to their younger selves. It's really funny. And I am subscribed to this channel, but I haven't watched their stuff in forever, and it got service to me and I watched it. I loved it. I probably will start getting more of their stuff again. The Jergies, as again, because I know them personally, they are a family vlogging channel. And what matters for them is that they need views more than subs, but subs matter a lot too. No matter how much we YouTube educators will preach to people, your sub count and your view count don't matter because it's a vanity metric to yourself. There are a great deal of milestones that happen once you meet certain subscriber and view counts. And it usually revolves around whether companies, and I'm talking like the big companies, where the big companies will give you monetary attention. So if you want to like work with Target, if you want to work with like GoPro, you usually have to have like a very minimum like 100,000 subscribers to your YouTube channel paired with a certain view count. Usually with like Target, it's over 1 million. Like, so there's these different milestones that unlock more opportunities for you. The thing that I always try to remind people of and tell people is that you can make money on YouTube in so many ways that have nothing to do with AdSense or have nothing to do with sponsorship. You just have to figure out what that is for you. How I make money as a marketing agency, first and foremost, my biggest form of revenue is my services. We offer do it for you social media and video marketing services, right? Because I know my audience, which is small businesses and entrepreneurs, and I know they're busy. I know them because I am them. They're busy. They often work in their business and they don't have time to keep up with yet another change of an algorithm or trying to figure out a new social network or any of these kinds of things. And so we take that burden off their plate by representing their brand online for them. And that's how I make my biggest chunk of money. My second chunk of money comes from sponsorship because of who I talk to very specifically and the problems I solve. I'm able to work with brands that want to talk to my people because I'm solving a problem for those people that the tool I'm working with is usually a software, that the software tool can solve for that person. And so that's where like that money comes from. I make money off of affiliate marketing. I make money off of my book. I wrote a book, so I make money off of my book. I'm about to enter into a digital product by making live streaming graphics. I'm also launching at the start of the year my membership, which is going to allow for people to work with me in a certain way so that they can have a content plan for their business with the One Video Club. So all of these ways that I'm making money are supported by YouTube, but not dependent on YouTube, right? I don't need just YouTube to sell all of these things or do all of these things. I don't need AdSense to do it. I don't need Target or Starbucks or Lowe's or big brand names to give me money to be successful. It's really about making something consistently, knowing who you're talking to, and having a slow, steady growth that also builds a slow, steady, growing, engaging group of avid fans.
Yeah, what really stands out to me with what you're saying there is just diversifying. You have so many different ways that you can generate income and revenue for yourself. You're not totally reliant on AdSense, right? Because that's one thing you tend to hear, at least new creators when they're coming onto YouTube. They're like, I need to get to the 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours so that I can then start monetizing. Well, if you have a very specific niche, there's possibility that you could start monetizing even earlier if you start reaching out to businesses. Yes.
Difference, like the 1,000 subscribers is 4,000 hours is AdSense specific, and unfortunately, unless you have unless you're a certain kind of niche, you're not making that much money. I think the first time I made money it took me 18 months to monetize, first and foremost. And I had to do the 1,000 watch hours or the 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 watch hours. And I think the first time I made money was like, I want to say it was like $50 to $60. And they pay you monthly and all that kind of jazz. Now, because my vertical talks to business owners, my click-through, my CPM is higher. Like there's just like I make more money than most in some niches. But if like you're doing something in lifestyle, your CPM is super crappy. Like I know people who are like, I have like 100,000 subscribers and I make more money than them on AdSense at 16,000 subscribers. So you can't rely, and you should never rely on AdSense as your source of income. This kind of goes into like, as we talked about this at the beginning of our talk about how like the world is so weird right now, and like the job market and the money market, all these things are so like, what's going to happen? It feels so much like it did back in 2007, 2008, right? It feels like that again. And all of these people that are already out of a job or about to be out of a job, they have to rely on one source of income. And one of the lessons I learned, and I spent all of this time between not finding a job and up to the start of 2020, before COVID even happened, it was, I need to establish myself as a way where I am not dependent on one source of income for my success. Because if that leg gets swept out from underneath it, I need to be able to take care of these other things. And so that's what I think people need to realize YouTube really does offer to you. It just takes a lot of time and study and dedication and consistency, because you can't just create a YouTube channel and show up and have success in 3 months. Like it doesn't work that way. You have to put in the time and the grind. And I'm 3 years and 3 months into this YouTube thing at the time that we recorded this. And I am just under 17,000 subscribers. I'm at like 1.2 million views. My email list is just under 11,000. And because of what I started those 3 years and 3 months ago, I am the sole breadwinner for my family. And I'm also a employer for 2 employees, and I have my team of contractors that are the social media managers that work for me, the military spouses I put to work. And we're all able to live comfortably and thrive successfully because of the decision I made to double down and dedicate myself to making YouTube the starting point of all of my marketing that feeds the rest of the animal.
Yeah, that's really impressive. Again, like people have a tendency, I think it's because of the old way we used to do things in media, right? Like you think about the Super Bowl being like the pinnacle of advertising, right? Like how much do people spend to get an ad spot on the Super Bowl? But you could create a YouTube video now and probably reach at more people, not even more, but the right specific people who you want to reach. And really make an impact and an influence on them. And again, like that's a testament to what you're doing, because a lot of people think I gotta have 1 million subscribers in order to have some sort of impact with my content. But you're living proof that it's possible to do that as a smaller YouTube channel with a smaller audience. It's the right audience that you are targeting.
Audience that you are solving a problem for. It really has to be that pairing. You can't just have an audience primed and ready to buy from you, but you don't have a solution to a problem that they have. Right. So you really like, so no matter what you do, whether you're a dentist who's trying to get new customers, or you are a like fashion blogger and you want to show women how to wear bras over the age of 35 or so, or post breastfeeding bras or something, like whatever your vertical is, you can be as super niche as you want. In fact, I encourage you to be. You have to have a way to solve someone's problem, and you can make money with your very first video with affiliate marketing and an email opt-in list. Like that's the easiest way for literally every single vertical to start.
When was a moment that clicked for you that ultimately all of this is it centers around the concept of problem solving?
Well, I'm a marketer, right? Like you have to keep in mind, like I told you guys my story. How did my business exist? You should do this. You should help people use Facebook for their business, right? This is a problem people had that they didn't know that they had. I had to spend a lot of time educating them on why they needed to be on Facebook and why it was important. And you're talking about in a time when people barely wanted to have a website, right? Like getting people to build a website was kind of a fight. And so trying to make them do this newfangled thing that the kids were doing was like this whole thing. But it really is. It's like I'm always in a person where people ask me a question, I'm gonna give them an answer. If I don't know, I'm gonna find out for them or send them to someone who I know will know this. For me, solving people's problems, I'm a fixer. Like that is who I am by nature. And so what I do just makes total sense for my personality type. And I didn't know this. I thought I wanted to be an animator. I thought I would literally spend the rest of my life in a cubicle making art that would make people in an audience like transport them into a new world. Like that was what I wanted to do for so long. But now you couldn't pay me enough to do that. I have friends that are animators for Disney and Blue Sky and work at Bungie and Bethesda. They love it. And I'm like, you guys are the ones that should do it. But you better believe so many of my other friends have lost their jobs because studios go under or games crash or movie contracts get pulled or a movie they don't decide to make it and they don't have work and they don't have anything else that they're doing. And so many of them will be like, Des, you did this smart thing by finding a way to work for yourself and diversify your income. And some of them come to me and ask me how I do it. So this is very weird meta situation. I've always been a person though that wants to help solve people's problems. And so it makes sense for me. And if I can help anybody with getting to that realization faster, like I am here for it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I want to ask you too about balancing all these projects. You mentioned that you have all these different revenue streams, income streams for yourself, a lot of different, you're balancing multiple plates here. You're consulting, you're an agency, you're also creating this content, and then you have your personal life too. You have your family that you have to take care of. You control your time, right? But at the same time, there's a lot on your plate. So, do you have any unique practices or quirks or routines that kind of help you keep everything together?
I really think that before I answer the question, I need to make sure that y'all know something really important. You have to remember, I'm 11 years into this business. So you can't compare my today to your beginning. You can't even compare my today to your like year 5. Like it's a totally different situation. Year 5 of being a social media manager, I had a baby and I was growing a baby and I had this crazy idea for this agency in my first trimester where I'm just like exhausted and trying to keep my son alive and balancing military life, and I just had to do it. And I literally put my business together by myself, where I not only was running my business and getting the leads, I also had to do the social media work I was selling to people. Like it was a whole thing. And I added each piece they talked about throughout any of this one at a time. I didn't just start a YouTube channel and say, okay, this is everything we're doing. Here's the book and a digital product and the membership and the affiliate marketing and the sponsorship and the YouTube AdSense, go, like all at one time. Like it was not like that. I don't want you to think that it is. It's a stepping stone. Think about where you want to be 10 years into being a creator, and that will be like your measuring stick. Or where do you want to be? Even if you want to talk about being specifically a YouTube creator, where do you want to be 3 years into being a YouTube creator? I'm 10 years into my professional career, right? So it's a different thing. But as far as like my secret to doing it, oh Lord, I always try to do the most time consuming and important thing first in my day. My husband is PTSD. I have 2 kids that are 6 and 5. My mother-in-law who is sick lives with me. And of course, to pile it on, we live in COVID and I bought a house. My life I usually will hit a point in at least 2 of my days every weekday where I have no control of my time. And if I don't do the most important task I need to do in that day first, that is of course going to be the day that something awful happens when I would have been done, like 2 or 3 hours into my day when I should have been having that thing done, and I've been procrastinating on it or whatever. And I'll like lose my day and I'm like, crap, I'm behind this project and I'm doubling up and I missed something. Like I can't tell you how many times I recently had a few weeks where I didn't have a YouTube video go up because I didn't get ahead on my schedule and all kinds of life was happening. So without that one tip, I don't know, like that's the one thing I have that I can constantly say is the one thing to do. The second thing I'd have to say is when you can, quite literally the moment you can, outsource your work. Whether it's working with a company like Video Husky to edit all of your YouTube videos for you, or working with a graphic design company like Design Pickle to take over that work, or hiring a contractor to help you with some piece of the puzzle that is time consuming for you, or a VA to help you with different things. These are systems that are in place to help you accomplish your goals because you're only one person and you can't do everything. If it wasn't for having a video editing service, wasn't for having the graphic design service, wasn't for having my VA, it was for having my contractors, I would have none of this. The moment I let go of work was the moment I was able to increase my income. Like most people really think that when you take on a financial commitment that they're losing money, when in fact, if you do it smart, you'll probably won't even know that it's missing. So I would not skip a beat on it if I were you.
What was the tipping point for you when you said, okay, I can't do all of this myself. And it would make a lot of sense for me to start outsourcing some of this other work out to other people.
So one of the first ways I really made money as a social media marketer back in 2010 was I created Facebook landing pages. So Facebook landing pages way back in the day, like before timeline existed, which is like the current-ish interface that we have for Facebook. Um, there was an option when you would go to a Facebook page for the first time, you would be presented with a landing page. And it could almost like a website where you would tell people to like your page for a reason and you get like an incentive or whatever it is. So I would make those. I would design them, I'd code them, and I would make them work. And it would be like, okay, like this restaurant to receive a 20% off coupon off of your first appetizer. And then they would hit like, and the screen would change and it would be almost like a miniature website inside of Facebook and looked really cool. And I was making a lot of these because people like understood it. Oh, it's a website in Facebook. Oh, it's a website in Facebook. So they got it. And so I made a bunch of them. Well, I was also growing a business. I was networking. I was going to 2 or 3 networking events a day. I was driving all over Phoenix, going to stuff. I was trying to like manage leads and stay in communication with them while also like handling billing and all of that stuff. At the time, I just had a boyfriend and a dog. Like there was no life to worry about. And so I was like, this is so much work. I'm like, I wonder if I could outsource this. So I actually went to Craigslist, and Craigslist has a like resume tab. Again, this was 10 years ago. I'm going to highly advise no one to do this now because Craigslist is a scary place at this point. I went to Craigslist to the resume section and I found this guy. His name was Alex. Lived in my town. He had a really solid design portfolio and he did web work. And I was like, hey, I found you on Craigslist. This is what I make. I will give you the code that you use as the base for this. And I would need you to design these. And this is what I will pay you per one to do. I've done this a bunch. This is really quick. And he was like, yeah, I can do this. Oh my God. Like the moment I was so scared because I was like, this is like 25% of my profits I have to give up here. Like, I don't know if I can do this. Oh my God. It was such a game changer because I was able to sell more because I didn't have to do them. Like, and Alex didn't have to do any of the work to find the work. I just fed it to him and then he got paid. Like, it was such a beautiful system. And I was like, this is what I want to do. And as I've gone through the years, I realized how my creative style works is I'm an idea machine. Like I come up with a lot of ideas and I figure out, I have to figure out first, can I do this? Is it feasible? Does this make sense for my business? And when could I add it in to the plan, right? And so that takes a lot of time in figuring out like how to work it that way. But once I got it, I got it. I'm a person that wants to develop something, start it, and hand it off. Because if I don't hand it off, I can't move on to the next thing that could help the brand grow or help me be a better social media manager or help the businesses I work with in some new way. So by handing off that piece of work, probably, what was it? Probably within like it was less than a year. I want to say it was like 9 months into having my business. I did that. It was a game changer, total game changer.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's really it can really change things once you start to let go of the work. It's like you said, it's kind of ironic, right? That when you start to let go, that's when you start to really thrive or increase your business for yourself.
I 100%. From day one of my YouTube channel, I have had an editor. Day one, because I knew how important it was to use YouTube for my business. I also knew I had 2 small kids. I was in a foreign country. I had military life obligations. I had a house. I had my customers. I had the team. Like I had this very specific window of time to work in, and I could not let that get eaten up with editing. And so I farmed it out from the beginning, and I didn't make you could say I didn't make my money back on it with AdSense until like 2 years in, but I did make the money back on it within 6 months, and it paid for itself because of the new customers I added in.
Yeah. It's an investment, definitely. That's what it is. You have to, if you look at it as an investment that eventually you're going to get some return back on it, then maybe that helps with like that mental hurdle of having to actually spend the money to get it done.
For sure. I always looked at it every hour I saved, not having to do the mundane work of editing. Because I'm sorry, after like the first or second video, it just becomes mundane work, at least for me. And I know your editors and stuff, Video Husky love it. They do an amazing job. Um, for me, it's more like those hours of me working on something is hours I'm losing making money. And so I'm like, it's worth it to pay XY dollar amount to get Z dollar amount in return.
It frees you up to do other stuff. Like I imagine it frees you up to focus more on the bigger picture things, strategy and client acquisition, talking to clients and making sure that they're happy, right?
Right. I remember once I heard this story about Henry Ford, where Henry Ford claimed to know everything. And the reason they were like, well, how do you claim to, like, I can literally get you an answer to anything you want. And they were like, how is it impossible? Well, let's try it out. And so someone asked him a question, and what he did is he would call a member of his team over and say, all right, I need you to go figure this out. And then someone else, and then someone says, you're not the one that's doing this. Other people are. Who's like, so what? I am the one giving you the answer and the solution that you need. Therefore, I know everything. And like that's a story that's always really resonated with me, because it's like I don't need to be able to do everything. I need to just have the vision to make it work and the leadership to make sure that the people that are doing it can do it and love it.
So I'm going to try and segue here into something that you have had a vision about and you're executing on now. And this is honestly kind of like a selfish question for myself because you are also the host of a podcast. You host the Women of you host the Women of YouTube podcast. I've tuned in actually to your episode with was there Julie Noki, the comedian from Canada who did the talking to my previous pandemic self. I love those videos as well.
She has one more like for the final quarter.
Yeah. So you started that in 2019. Can you tell me about what drove you to decide starting the podcast and what do you enjoy most about it?
Oh, okay. Well, um, I love going to social media marketing world. It's kind of like going to camp for marketers and stuff because we get to see all of our friends and peers that we interact with online with all the time and hang out in person and connect with brands and people. It's a great way to bring social, in real life. And I got really excited when Social Media Examiner announced they were like all in. They were going to go all in for YouTube there at the end of 2018, which meant that they were going to do a big like education push for YouTube in 2019. Well, when they announced their speakers for the YouTube Summit, they were all dudes. In fact, they were all white dudes with one black dude. And I was like, 55 to 60% of marketers are women. Why wouldn't you include at least one in your talk here? They didn't. So I remember reaching out to Phil, who's the speaker coordinator for it, about it, and I had pitched him. I was like, "Hey, what about doing a panel, like do a Women of YouTube panel, and it'd be all about like why marketers should work with women to help brands and their companies and all this kind of stuff." He's like, "I really like this idea. However, our commitments are completely full. Like we have no space left anywhere in the calendar." And I was like, "All right." He's like, "But you should do this as a live stream." And I was like, "Okay." Well, when he had suggested this to me, it was probably like February. It was like February of 2019. And I was like, well, my channel is just under 1,000 people. And this is a really big opportunity to help a lot of people. It would be totally lost. It would totally lost on my channel. And so I was like, well, who could I reach out to that might be interested? And at the time, I had been very actively using a tool for YouTube called TubeBuddy, which is your best friend on the way to YouTube success. And they help you make sure that your videos do better. It's sort of like you can make a cake all day, but it's not going to be anywhere near as good unless you have delicious amounts of frosting on top of it. And TubeBuddy is like the frosting to make your YouTube cake perform better. And I reached out to them. I was like, hey, I have this idea. I have these speakers who agree to do it. Would you be willing to host this live stream on your YouTube channel? Because I feel like you have the reach and the audience that would work best for you. And I got a response back within an hour from the CEO, the former CEO, Phil, saying yes, 1,000 times yes. We'll work through the details later. I just wanted to like claim this as our own before we started. So we did it. We did it the week before Social Media Marketing World in 2019. It went really well. And then I kept getting asked to do more. People were like, I really like this. Like, can we, there more? It was like, there's not women creators, YouTube creators out there. I was like, there's a lot of women YouTube creators. There's a lot of women YouTube educators out there. No, I don't know where they are. I was like, well, that's not okay. And so I continued the conversation with TubeBuddy. I was like, hey, how can we do more with this? And so we decided to do it, and they partnered with me to help make it happen. And then at Vid Summit of 2019, which was October 15th, we launched the Women of YouTube podcast with the vision to help women creators start creating and keep creating on YouTube by telling the journeys of when female YouTube creators already on the internet. And it's been wonderful. We're like 60 something episodes in right now. I try my best to have a really diverse group of women with a really diverse group of panels. We're about to launch our YouTube channel for the podcast as well, where we're going to be taking the video recordings from the podcast and taking clips from them and putting up on YouTube and doing all kinds of stuff like that. And I love it. It's probably my favorite project because I get to talk to some of the most amazing women. I get to very selfishly ask questions as a hostess, like you get to do. You're like, hey, I'm going to learn some stuff from myself along the way. I get to make really wonderful friends, and I get to really help women. Like I get to help a lot of women creators. I can't tell you how many women come to me. They're like, I needed this. I needed my own community. I'm sick of learning from these men. I love men, but they don't get my problems. They don't know how to create the way I create. They don't know what it's like to have to batch content around having kids and, all of these things. And so it's been very, very rewarding and fulfilling to really like lead the way on it and do great things with it.
By the way, Desiree, we're coming up on an hour. I want to ask you if you're good. Do you want to? Okay, great. Um, yeah, that's. Oh no, I'm good. I'm good. No, I like it. Honestly, like this is like you were alluding to, this is the part where it's a little bit selfish for me because like this is, this podcast is an opportunity as much as an opportunity for the audience to learn from creators and business people like you, but it's also an opportunity for me to learn and see if I can become a better podcast host myself. Um, I'm really curious about your process of producing the show. What does that look like in terms of reaching out to guests, booking guests, wrangling everybody together, your workflow, all those kinds of things, if you could touch on that.
Yeah. So I pick a day out of my week that I keep available for recording. So Fridays is when I keep open for doing podcast recording because I find that it's kind of the easiest day of the week for most people because they're kind of just like they're just over the week kind of. They're like, we just want to talk. I want to be able to like show up to work, but not feel like I'm working. Like that's what Fridays are for me. And so, and then as far as like finding people, at first, it was a lot of just talking to my friends who were women YouTube creators and asking them if they knew anybody that I could talk to. And then it was reaching out to small but mighty YouTube creators that I liked or followed that brought them to me. And then I would always have the shot in the dark ones where I would just Instagram message somebody or go through the contact on their website or their YouTube channel and ask the question. Sometimes TubeBuddy could help me find somebody, but it's at this point, it happens a lot more naturally. And so it's been kind of easy-ish, but still like I'm always in my mind. I'm like, okay, where am I at in this schedule? How far ahead do we have batched? Who do I need to get on here? I also want to throw in like a lesson podcast. So like for the end of December, I'll probably do like what you need to focus on heading into 2021 for your YouTube channel situation. Because as you can tell, I have lots of opinions about things and how things should be done. But like I said, it's because I love doing it. It's so easy. And a lot of it is kind of like how you guys reach out to me. You're like, hey, flattery, flattery, flattery. Will you be on my podcast? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Here I am. So it's just one of those kinds of things.
Yeah, and for everybody, if you're watching the show or you're listening to it, I will do, I will include a screenshot of the email that I sent to Desiree so that you can see, like, if you want to. I think this is very useful too, regardless of whether you host a podcast or not. If you want to just collaborate with someone, maybe you could use my email that I sent as an example. But it's genuine, it's sincere too. Like, just to recap what I did, Desiree, you're a client of ours at Video Husky, and our editors who do work with you genuinely like working on your content. So I had reached out to them and asked. No, the content creators, people like you are our favorite types of clients to work with, to be totally honest. And we reached out and sent that out to you, but then at the same time kind of explained, hey, we want to try and help you as well. Like, we want to see if there's something we can do to help benefit you from being on this show. It's not necessarily us trying to take all the value and have you on and help build this. But yeah, I'll share a screenshot of that for people, and it'll be in the description of the podcast notes.
And like I said, I enjoy working with the team. I think they take the notes really well, and I always was like, do this, don't do this. This is terrible. Why are you doing it this way? Or like, here, let's look at it this way. Let's exactly this way. And so, like I said, and once you get that, like once you can go through those, I think, initial frustrating growing pains, you're able to get a good groove, and then it's easy to add into. Like, oh, I saw this on this video that this person did. Like, I'd love to add this, integrate this in, and just like that kind of stuff. So it worked out, I think, pretty well when we were doing it.
Yeah. I'm curious too, but in terms of the podcast, when you start the show, right before you get recording, do you have any kinds of rituals to warm up guests, before you start the program, or do you just hop on the Zoom call and much like kind of like what we did, we just kind of got set up a little bit and then just jumped right into it?
I always start by, again, flattery, 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 because usually I'm talking to somebody I'm a fan of, or like I'm really into their stuff, or we have a little bit like of warm up banter usually. But oftentimes what I do is it's like, okay, so just to refresh you, this is who this podcast is for and what it's about. Here are kind of some of the things that we're going to touch on, like how the flow of the podcast works. And then we'll peace out. And they're always like, yeah, this is great. And so I just hit record and we dive into, as I always record an introduction separate from the podcast. And it's because I want that introduction to be like a relevant lead in. And also if I have like, housekeeping to do, I can do that there. And it just like builds up the hype for it. So like, for example, the week that we've done this podcast, I was talking with this girl named Julie, who is her whole YouTube channel is about planners, like the physical planners where you like document your life in. And I remember talking with her about like, okay, or what we did. And then her whole thing was like, it's very weird using a digital platform for such an analog product. And so I warmed it up by being like, we live in this excessively digital world. And it's like, now can you imagine like having a YouTube channel dedicated to a super analog thing? Like, and that's what we dive into today. It's like, I try to give that lead in and context and fun and hype. It's sort of like what I've learned with YouTube. I only have so much time at the beginning to keep them hooked, to get them in, to keep them here. And I know like what I have to do on YouTube to keep them there, what I don't do. And they apply that kind of same concept to the podcast.
What are some of the big learnings that you've taken away from, the last year of doing this show? Are there common themes, common threads, challenges that you found most women who are creators on YouTube to have?
You know, I think that there are definitely some common threads. I always ask the question in some way, shape, or form. I ask them, do you ever deal with something as a YouTube creator that makes you go, ugh, a man would never have to deal with this? And it usually comes into one of two things. One, visual preparedness. Like there's this expectation of how we should look on the internet. Like you probably won't talk to hardly any YouTube creators that are like, I don't get on camera without hair and makeup and a nice outfit. There, otherwise people will literally be like, you wore that one in the last video. Look who needs a wardrobe update. Like those like stupid unnecessary comments that people do leave. And then the other one is that it's the like somewhere along the line people thought that it's okay to be inappropriate on the internet, and it usually comes around like inappropriate comments about how someone looks, inappropriate language, saying horrible words that you would never use at a person in real life, which is so annoying too. And it's like how they deal with it and what it's done. And it's kind of the idea like we share those stories because being a female creator is hard because of those reasons. So many women I will talk to don't get on camera because they don't like how they look, or they don't feel that like, and no one would pay attention to them because they're just them. And then it gets backed up by, I don't want to get trolled, and I don't want the comments, and I don't want to like read the hate. And it's one of those things that's like the hate is so small compared to the good, like so small compared to the good. But we as humans innately pay too much attention to the bad stuff. And so it's this whole thing.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of pressure that you as women face that me as a man I don't have to deal with. And that's why I think your podcast is great, cuz even from a male perspective it's good for me to kind of learn about those things that I made it may sound totally foreign to me, but it's something that exists for you all as women that you're going through.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie when I say that even my fellow male creators and educators don't understand the purpose of the podcast. They think that by emphasizing the fact that we're women creators versus just creators devalues us and puts us in positions where we're getting opportunities only because we're women, not because we're qualified, without that understanding of like, we wouldn't have these opportunities unless we did make a ruckus about things. And we're seeing this culturally in the United States very predominantly right now as we head into our new administration, where we have the first female vice president, we have the first Black vice president, she's also the first Southern Pacific vice president. It's a huge deal. And it's like, I don't think that it makes me think when I talk to some of these male creators, is like, well, do you think that because that what she's doing, that because she's a woman, she's not qualified for it? That because she's a woman, that she only got it because she's a woman? Like, it applies to so many different things. And so it does get pretty hurtful and frustrating. But I think that what we're doing, it gives women a place to feel related to, and it can give anyone a good story and good things that they can do to make their YouTube channels better. Like that's what, like if we can get that part from it, at the very least, that's what matters most to me.
Yeah, I think you heard that saying a lot, that representation matters. And I guess the one way that I can kind of empathize or connect my own experience to your experience is being a minority myself. I'm Filipino American, and not necessarily growing up seeing my culture represented in mainstream media. So when you see like a couple of years ago a movie like Crazy Rich Asians do very well in the box office, it matters for the people of that ethnicity because they don't get to see themselves represented as much. And I imagine that's similar in your sense as a woman, to just hear other women just talk about these issues that don't necessarily get spotlighted as much unless it's other women talking about it.
Well, and it's like you have to, I think, be people aware of, you have to make people aware of the problem. Like, it's kind of like you don't know unless you know. And again, we, like, I've grown up, I'm a white person in America. Like, that is just who I am. And I didn't grow up not being able to have any opportunities because of how I was born. And I think that the big cultural movements that we've had through 2020 have been so necessary because it reminded so many of us that are complacent and have understand that these are still issues that people face and they shouldn't exist anymore. And we need to step up and not only accept our privilege, but do something with it. And I know for me, aside from being a female creator, aside from having that roadblock that comes with being a female creator, I'm also married into a Hispanic family. So my husband is Hispanic. I have biracial children. And I don't want them to have to deal with the prejudice and racism that comes with, how they were born, even though they're going to have a lot of amazing opportunities that I didn't have and that my parents didn't have and that their grandparents and their dad didn't have and stuff like that. And so it's like, we just want to make the world better. And the more we can recognize and bring to light the problems that need to be corrected in the right ways, the better our world can be to move forward. And I think that we have a long way to go. And I think though we are making the right steps.
Cheers to that. Cheers to that. That's very well said. On a related note, from this podcast that you've created, you've been able to build a community as well. You have a Facebook group now of about 1,000 people and growing. Tell me about that process of building that group from the start and how it's been going, how you've been able to cultivate it and manage it as the year has gone on.
So the objective of the Facebook group was to give this community that was listening to our podcast a place to go to continue the conversation, to connect, relate, and get their questions answered. Because when you're doing a podcast, it's me asking a person a question and them hoping I ask their question, or them wanting to know how to do more. And like, if we get them motivated and inspired to get on YouTube, a lot of times it's going to be like, hey, what do I do? Am I doing this right? I need help. I need this. I don't know if I'm doing this right. And they need a place to go to talk and communicate. And women need women to process things like that. That's because very much how the vast majority of women need people to process and talk things out and work things out. And that's what the group accomplishes. And it's also a platform to share, like what's going on with TubeBuddy, how to use the tool, new features that are going on. Changes that are coming right now. We're talking about Vlogmas and giving a place for people to share their content. I think that it's important to have a place. It's not a place where people can go post their videos and do the you watch mine, I watch yours, sub for sub. We don't do any of the self-promotion stuff because that's not what the group is about. If you are building an audience, it needs to be done authentically, not in that pandering way. I don't know what it is about YouTube that people just scam it. I don't know what it is about the internet, honestly, with social and things people will have those what do they call those? Pods.
Yeah, it like Instagram pods and whatnot.
Facebook pods, go like, mine, and share. And you have to do all that extra work. I'm like, why don't you just create things people want to like and share and comment and engage on? You're just hurting yourself algorithmically. It doesn't make any sense for me to watch your vlog that has nothing to do with my life. I'm completely uninterested. It has nothing to do with my algorithm. And then if I never watch anything from you again, that just hurts you. So I have a lot of opinions about this again, obviously. That's what the Facebook group is for. It's a place to connect and grow and continue to promote the podcast and offer new things and stuff like that.
Do you also find it as a good source for questions that you can ask on the podcast as well? Because you were alluding to there that with the show, it's you asking the questions to these guests, but you could source problems, questions that your audience has, and then relay that to future episodes with other guests.
Yeah, I've never done that actually for my podcast. As y'all can probably tell by our super long talk, which I'm super down to keep going with, I don't have a problem talking or asking questions. So, and I'm a fairly solid listener, so it allows me, and I'm very curious by nature. So I'm all about like, let's talk, let's ask questions. Like if like our podcasts are like 20 minutes or something, it's because it was a bad conversation. And there have been plenty of podcasts I have not aired because it just didn't go well, because I have to make sure I'm thinking of my audience first, not the person I'm interviewing. But I have used the group to do my like solo episodes where I find like a lot of people are doing something and I'm like, this needs to stop. So I have a podcast I did just me where it's like YouTube is work is literally I think what the episode is called. And it's like I'm sick of people trying to cut corners and do the wrong things with their YouTube channels. Takes time. It's not easy. Stop it.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things.
Are there are there three or just a handful of things that you would just tell I new creators or people who they've gotten some traction on their channel, that they just constantly have to do in order to have success on YouTube? Are there any three that come to mind for you?
Yeah, and I think they're probably the same ones that everybody has because they're those things that it says you have to have a killer thumbnail, a strong title, and a reason to keep people watching. It doesn't matter how awesome of a video you have or how good your content is. If people can't find it through a good keyword title and you don't have a really beautiful, well done thumbnail, it's not going to do you any good. And I can speak from experience with this thumbnail situation. I would like you guys to remember something. Way back at the beginning of our talk, I told you I went to art school. Literally have a 4-year degree in design. I cannot design my way out of a thumbnail box to save my life because it's a totally like different way of thinking of it. And it makes me crazy that like I can't figure it out. And so I've been fortunate enough, I found this awesome service called customthumbnails.com. And it would make total sense for Video Husky and you guys partner together now that I think about it. But I send them the titles of the video, and like, cause I'm good at the title, I rock at the title situation. I send the title of the video and what I do is I record a whole video of me making faces. So for those of you that are watching, I do a lot of this. Aha, and I point and I laugh, or I'm sad and I freeze. And I send them this video, the title of the show or of the episode, and then what I want people to feel when they click this. And I want them to be relieved, don't want them to be curious. And then they come up with the thumbnail for me. They put the words up, they do the graphic and make it look good. And I kid you not, guys, in the like less than 3 months I've been using them, we've updated old thumbnails and we've been using them for the new ones, and my click-through rate has gone up 2%. And that's pretty massive because I just kept seeing this like slow decline to death. That's how I described it. People tell me I'm being over dramatic and I don't care. That's how I felt about it. But it matters so much. And then when it comes to my thumbnail is bomb, my title works, and they go in, there's nothing that will kill your video more than saying, hi guys, my name is Desiree, and on this video, we're going to go over stuff. But before that, I want you guys to do this, and I want you to subscribe. And no, 1,000 times, no. If there's anything y'all can walk away from this interview is no one gives two shits about you. And if I have to bleep that, I'm sorry. No one cares about you. They're there for their own selfish needs. What problem can you solve for them? If you can solve their problem and they like you, they will go figure out who you are. They will subscribe. They will learn your name. You do not need a long ass introduction introducing yourself and some 30-second commercial promoting your awesomeness in your brand. None of it matters. I start every single video with like the purpose of the video or the question they might be asking themselves. So for example, I have to do a video about like, how to create a Facebook page. It was like, Facebook, it's time for a tutorial update. We're going to go over how to make a Facebook business page with the new Facebook interface. And we walk into it like, you're in the right place. You know what you're getting. We're here to do this.
You get straight to the point, basically. Yeah, because
Time, you'll never like time. Time is the only commodity on this earth that there's literally no way to replace. Every second and minute someone spends with you is time they cannot get back. Don't waste it or disrespect it with your BS. Don't do it.
Yeah, if you can get straight to the point, get them hooked immediately with what you're tell them is like what you're saying. You tell people exactly what they're going to learn from the video, so that within those
7 seconds on YouTube.
Within those 7 seconds, that person can then decide if they want to keep watching the video or not. And that's
on social, it's worth. On social, you have 3. Like 3 is a stretch. You have a thumb scroll to hold someone's attention. So when people do things like even the littlest things like a fade in, or like a question, whatever, like you literally have to have that strong, like, if you don't do this, your business is going to die. And then you go into the whole other part. You got to capture them really fast.
So Desiree, the last thing I want to ask you about as we wrap up here on the show is just promoting your content. Are there any things that you do in particular to get the word out about your content aside from your email list? Like maybe let's walk it back to if somebody is just kind of starting out, they don't have much of a following yet. I mean, is there a way, or do you make use of communities or other platforms to try and just get the word out about your YouTube content?
So the first way that I get my YouTube content out is with YouTube itself. I make sure that what I'm making is highly searchable. I use TubeBuddy to make sure that whatever I make has a really solid search score, not too competitive and relevant to what I want to talk about. You'll never see anything on my channel that's like how to be a mom, like, or anything like that. It's unrelated to what YouTube has niched me into. The second thing you do is I would promote whatever your YouTube links are. And yes, you can do your actual YouTube links on all the social places, share it on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. And then I would do an Instagram story about it with the link in your bio. Because that's what I found to be the most successful, because people will click and watch. Now, if you are just trying to get people to watch the video, not necessarily go to YouTube, you can upload your video natively to Facebook and LinkedIn, because maybe the objective of the video is to get people to get into your opt-in. And if you're going to make it harder by making them go click away and then click away again, because they have to click into YouTube and they have to click away, make it easy. Take away that barrier to entry and just upload it natively to Facebook and LinkedIn and include the link to your opt-in.
Awesome. Well, Desiree, this was awesome to have you on the show and chat with you. And thanks for giving me the extra time to ask you some questions, indulge in my own curiosity about improving.
This was an easy conversation to have, and you made it fun and enjoyable. So thanks for having me and letting me ramble.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to take some of the advice that you offered to me in terms of the insights you offered in terms of podcasting and try to apply that to future episodes that we have here on the show. So really awesome to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And you guys remember, you are all impossibly amazing.
Thanks again to Desiree Martinez for joining me on this episode of the Videocraft Show presented by Video Husky. It was really exciting and awesome to chat with her. And if you want to connect with Desiree in any way, you want to connect with her, we've got links to all of her content, all of her platforms that she's active on in the podcast show notes, or if you're watching this on YouTube, in the YouTube description down below. So be sure to check that out if you want to go and connect with Desiree. And if you really enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave us a review wherever you tune into podcasts. It helps us out. I love to hear the feedback. Let me know if I'm doing great, or let me know if I suck. That's great too. I'll take the feedback anyway you have it. You can throw it my way. And if you want to go and stay up to date with the content that we're creating here on this channel, make sure to subscribe to our email list. It's the best way to stay up to date on the Videocraft Show when new episodes come out, as well as additional content that we are creating on the YouTube channel. So until next time, we'll see you then.
Except